Afternoon, everybody. It's Cargo Bike Life here again. We're going to start the build series, and I just want to say before we begin, my computer took a crap on me, but I want to keep putting out videos for you, so I'm going to try this one with my phone, which in a way is better because my GoPro has no screen. With my phone on, I can actually see myself in the screen, and I can actually see what I'm filming. So if this first one doesn't turn out, maybe the second one didn't turn out that great, just hold on. I'm going to work it out. I just have to learn how to use my phone as a video camera. I know it's not real complicated, but I want to give you something of good quality. So this bike is that kid's bike. It's that FS5 Free Spirit, and this bike is just filthy. It's got rust on the wheels, the crank, the seat post, the brake levers. Now, whenever I begin to rebuild a bike, what I do is disassemble the whole thing first. And I'm not going to film myself disassembling this whole thing because it would probably be very, very boring for you to watch me take a bunch of nuts and bolts off of something. But I did want to give you a few pointers, like cables. If you've never built many bicycles, or maybe you've never built even one bicycle, or maybe you've only built two bicycles, but you're never sure about cable length, because this is going to get a all new set of cables, because these cables are pretty old and they're very dirty, and I'm sure the housing is messed up. But a trick that you can do before you disassemble it is take some tape, like some masking tape works really good, and just put a little piece of masking tape on each cable. Like put the tape on here like a little flag and write front, well this would be, front brake. On the other piece of tape, right, rear brake. Like front brake cable housing, rear brake cable housing, derailleur cable housing. Like there's two separate pieces for the derailleur. So this one you would put a little flag on, you would mark cable to shifter, and this one you would mark cable to derailleur. And tape the two together. And that way, when you go to cut new cable, if the bike cables were all good, like you can check them to make sure they got enough play in them, because you don't want them too tight. You don't want them to bind when they turn. And that way, if everything looks good to you, when you go to cut new cable housing, you've already got the predetermined length already for you. You can just match the other one up, clip it, put your little ferrules on the end, and it's good to go. Makes it a lot simpler. And I even like to label, like when I take the rear brake off, I'd even put a label on it that says rear brake. Then the front brake, I would put front brake. I like to put them back where they were, and as I disassemble, like when I pull this off, I'll make sure that all the pieces go on back on this bolt just the same as they were when I took them off. That way, if you're unfamiliar with bicycles and you want to rebuild, never be afraid. Just go ahead and do it, but just be smart about it. Keep all the nuts and bolts together. Don't set the nuts and bolts down in a big pile and then have, oh my God, which one went to the front, which one went to the rear. Keep the whole assembly together. Then when you go to clean it, you can take it all apart, lay it like on a towel, and then just clean this whole thing, get everything the way you want it, and then reassemble it. Take a picture of it before you do it. Like take a picture from this angle, take a picture from the top. That way you have a reference. You can always go back and say, okay, this is how, if you forget how it was together, you can say, okay, this is how it was together. This is what I need to do. It just makes everything a little simpler. Like maybe even take some pictures before you begin. Like take a whole picture of the bike, then maybe take a picture right here of the derailleur, of the crank, of each brake, the shift levers. I mean, this is not a very complicated bike. It's very basic. But still having a point of reference for the bike you're working on is always good. When I first started to build bikes as a kid, I didn't have the convenience of a cell phone to take pictures. I just had to remember it. I had no choice. And like the first few builds I did, I messed up. I mean, I messed them up, but I eventually worked it out through talking to friends and reading books. Because back then we didn't have the internet. You couldn't go to the computer and say, okay, well, what do I do here? You had to go to the library, get a book, go home and read the book. Everything's a lot simpler now. Next thing I want to show you is this frame. This bike looks like it sat under a tree. I mean, it's just got this green crap all over it. And you see how dull the paint is. At least I'm hoping that you can. I can see the bike in the camera, so I'm hoping that you can see it good. But what I do for that is I'll just spray some cleaner on there. That's just some Windex. I'll just put some Windex on there and then wipe it off. Okay? Now just that little bit of Windex took all that green tree sap or whatever that is. I mean, you can see how much it's shining compared to the upper tube now. But the real way to make it shine is with this Meguiar's Ultimate Compound. This stuff is awesome. It will help take all the oxidation out of the old paint and really make it shine. You just take your towel, make sure you shake this up really good, and never let this dry. Like when you put it on there, do not let it dry. You're not supposed to let it dry. And then what I have is a drill with this little buffing wheel that I bought for like, I don't know, $4 or $5 at Harbor Freight, and you'll see where that comes into play. I bought two different ones. I bought one that's kind of like a triangle too. That way you can get down in these little parts here. Or maybe that, if you can't reach that, but I thought maybe this could be, you know, for little spaces where you might not be able to get that. And normally I wouldn't even attempt to shine this until I had it all apart and I had the whole frame washed, but this is just for demonstration purposes. So we're just going to put a little of this Ultimate Compound on a rag, and then what you're going to do is you're just going to wipe it down this tube just a little bit. You don't have to go real heavy with it. What you want is just a light coat. Then you're going to take your drill and you're going to rub this buffing pad on there, but you don't want to push into it. You don't want to like burn the paint. You just want to buff the paint, get the oxidation out of it. Then you got to have a clean rag. Then you just buff it, just to make sure you got everything off there. But like now, and that's only like one little quick application, but you can make it spin fast, but light. Just barely touch it on there and bring it back and forth. Go slow. Don't be in a hurry. Don't push down hard on it and get into that paint. I'm going to bring the camera a little closer, lower it down so maybe you can see that shine right there. I'm hoping you can see that. This part that I buffed is very shiny now, very glossy, like this bike when it was new. I mean, there's still a little bit of green right there on that decal, but it even cleaned the decal. It's still a good decal, but if you compare it to all this green and dirt, I mean, look at the fork. We'll do the fork too so you can see. Let me lower the camera a little more here. Get it pointed forward a little more. There. Now you can see the fork good. And I'm hoping you can see how filthy it is. Now we'll spray a little Windex on there just to get that off of there. See, that didn't rub off so easy. And you can see it's got some chips in the paint. Okay, give it a little more. That cleaned off some. Okay, now you can see it's kind of shiny, but I can see it. I don't know if you can see it, but it's got a lot of oxidation in that paint. A lot of oxidation in there. So we're going to put a little more Meguiar's on there. Just a little bit. Don't have to go crazy with it. Hit it with the old buffing pad. Almost came off there. Hit it with the old buffing pad again. And we'll wipe it down. Clean cloth. So you got to get up in them grooves and stuff too right there. But this is, you know, just a quick demo of how I make the frame shine. Now you can see how much shinier that is. It's took a lot of the oxidation out of it. And sometimes you'll have to do more than just once. Like you might have to go over it several times, just depending on where the bike sat, how old the paint is. But man, it makes it shine. And if you're going to fix bikes and resell them, you don't want to get someone this dirty, rusty, crappy bike just to make a quick dollar. I mean, look at these tires. Those tires are dry rotted. So I'm going to order some new tires for it, so I have brand new tires to put on it. Because when I redo something and someone comes to get it, I want them to get something nice, something they can be proud to own. I want some little kid to have this one day and ride it around and be like, you know, look at my shiny new red bike. I wish I could get touch-up paint for these little gouges and scratches here, and I don't know, that might be hard to come up with since this is from probably like the 70s. I don't know if I could get it. If you have any suggestions of where I could get touch-up paint, let me know. As long as it's not like super expensive, you know, I could probably do it. But like all the dirt and grease in here, look at that. Look at that grease there. Can you see that? Yeah. See all that grease that's on there? That's old grease. You can see it here and here. All that has to be cleaned really well. Look at the rust on this cap nut. I mean, all that has to be taken care of. And what I use to get rid of rust on like, let me move the camera back. Let me fix this camera angle. What I use to get rid of rust and stuff is triple-aught steel wool. And triple-aught steel wool will not scratch the chrome of this rim, but it will remove all of the rust. And what I do is I spray with a little WD-40, and I just lightly buff it out, and then when it's all done, sometimes I'll take a little McGuire's and just put it on there with a rag and just wipe it off, polish it up, and then the bike will look really sweet when you're done. I mean, this rust right here is very heavy rust, very heavy. That might be a challenge to get off. I don't know. I'm gonna have to see what I can do about that. But that's going to be the first bike in the build series. Once I get it all disassembled, I will do the frame, and I will actually film the process of, you know, doing the whole frame, like with buffing it out, and you'll see how much better it looks once it's buffed out. This build series for this bike is not going to be real quick because I have to order tires. I'm going to try to save this original grips that are on here because I think they're cool, and they're still in good shape. They're still very pliable, which is nice because that's, you know, it's original stuff. So I'm going to try to keep that. I'm trying to keep as much original stuff on it as I can. But that's the first bike. I'm also going to, I have a Trek frame over here. I think it was a Trek Antelope 830. It's painted silver. I don't like it. But since I had so many requests for a shit hits the fan bicycles, people seem to want more videos on that. I'm going to take that bike and I'm gonna sand it down, and I'm going to do a rattle can paint job on it, and build an entire shit hits the fan bicycle with the Alice pack panniers, a rear rack. We'll get it done up as a shit hits the fan bicycle, and we'll give it like a camo paint job, something cool. All right, well that's gonna be it for today, and hopefully within the next couple days I'll be able to put out some more videos. So just stay tuned. Y'all ride safe, be careful. This is Cargo Bike Life signing out.